It is a bright and beautiful day outside, but inside the palace, the atmosphere could not be more different. Yan Wu marches through the grand hallway with a sword clenched tightly in her hand. The noble ladies gasp in horror when they notice blood running down her palm. Her attendants rush after her, desperately begging her to stop and seek treatment, but she ignores them completely. Her eyes are hollow, devoid of warmth, and fixed on a single destination. She makes her way directly to the throne room, where the king sits in all his royal splendor. The moment he sees her, a smile spreads across his face. With exaggerated delight, he announces that she has finally arrived and jokes that she has come to personally congratulate her husband on his birthday. Yan Wu does not smile. Instead, she stares at him with cold determination. The king's cheerful expression begins to falter as he senses the tension surrounding her. He orders her to stop acting recklessly, but she responds with a firm refusal. Confusion flashes across his face, followed by amusement. He wonders if this is yet another attempt on his life after her previous failed assassination. The surrounding officials burst into laughter, treating her as nothing more than a joke. Their mockery only deepens her fury. She tightens her grip on the sword until its edge cuts deeper into her skin, drawing fresh blood. Looking directly at her husband, she tells him that he should have killed her along with the rest of her family. He should have left her corpse for the crows rather than forcing her to live after slaughtering innocent people. The king calmly dismisses her words. He insists that he could never kill the woman he loves. Those words shatter the last fragments of restraint within her. A smile twists across her face, one bordering on madness. She asks how he dares speak of love after everything he has done. Tears stream down her cheeks as she reminds him of the day he exterminated her entire family and displayed their severed heads at the city gates. Even hearing his name makes her tremble with hatred, yet he still insists this nightmare is love. The king gazes at her with unsettling certainty. To him, it is love. He tells her that she belongs to him and him alone. Only then does the mark branded above her chest become noticeable, a permanent symbol of his obsession and possessiveness. The king proudly declares that she is his forever. Yan Wu screams in defiance. She insists that she belongs to no one. The king approaches her slowly. He gently takes her hand and lifts her face toward his. Looking into her eyes, he once again tells her that she is his. Then, with a disturbingly tender gesture, he kisses her fingers before turning away. Something inside Yan Wu finally breaks. Maniacal laughter erupts from her lips, echoing throughout the throne room. She calls him insane and curses herself for ever becoming involved with someone like him. For the first time, genuine fear appears in the king's eyes. He senses that something is terribly wrong. Turning back toward her, he sees her raise the sword to her own throat. A chilling smile stretches across her face as she presses the blade against her skin. The king immediately panics. Cold sweat forms on his forehead as he orders her to hand over the weapon. But Yan Wu only smiles wider. She declares that he will never truly possess her. The only person capable of taking her life is herself. Then, before anyone can stop her, she drags the blade across her neck. Blood sprays into the air. The king screams her name and rushes forward. In the underworld, where eternal darkness reigns, the king's birthday is the only day Yan Wu is allowed to see the blue sky. Since he treasured this day so much, she decided to give him a birthday gift he would never forget. As he cradles her dying body and breaks down in tears, she softly whispers a heartfelt happy birthday. Desperate, the king screams for the royal physician. Guards scatter in every direction to obey his command. Yan Wu, however, remains calm. She tells him that because he wronged her, this day will become the beginning of a lifetime of suffering. As chaos erupts around them, her gaze drifts across the gathered crowd. Among the countless faces, one man catches her attention. Tears are streaming down his cheeks. She does not recognize him. A strange thought enters her mind. Is he crying for her? For a brief moment, she wishes he would stop looking at her with such sadness. After all, this is the culmination of her revenge. She should be savoring her victory. As her life slips away, she closes her eyes and prays to Tamiya, the god of the underworld. She confesses that she cannot understand why fate forced her to endure such suffering. But she knows one thing for certain. She never wants to live this life again. If there is another world beyond death, she would rather disappear completely than ever meet Hyojo again. Then everything changes. Yan Wu suddenly opens her eyes. Confusion floods her mind as she looks around. Falling to her knees, she cries out in despair and demands to know why she has been brought back once more. The horrifying realization strikes her. Hyojo might be coming. Panic overwhelms her. She desperately tries to flee, but her legs refuse to move. Then a voice speaks behind her. Turning around, she finds herself staring at an incredibly handsome man mounted on a horse. He gazes at her with astonishment and softly remarks that she appears to be someone from Earth. Yan Wu quickly realizes that this is not the same person she encountered in her previous life. Before she can process this discovery, another voice calls out nearby. Looking over, she freezes. Her father is there, so is her younger sister. Even her mother stands beside them. They are all alive. Tears instantly fill her eyes. The mysterious horseman observes the group and comments that they seem to have been involved in some kind of accident. He asks whether they are injured. Her father assures him that everyone is fine before becoming distracted by the man's unusual clothing. Assuming there must be a television drama filming nearby, he asks if he can borrow a phone because his own stopped working after the accident. The horseman looks completely confused by the request, but decides to help anyway. He orders one of his guards to escort the family to Lord Jang Kong. The moment Yen Wu hears that name, her heart nearly stops. Lord Jang Kong is the ruler of the underworld. More importantly, he is Hojo's father. If events continue as before, she knows she could soon encounter Hojo again. That cannot happen. Desperately, she begins searching for a way to escape with her family. Yet before she can act, her younger sister notices something strange. Yan Wu's hair has changed color. Looking down, she discovers that her hair is now a brilliant silver. The horseman compliments its beauty and admits that he has never seen such radiant hair before. He then politely asks her to accompany him. Her father immediately objects, demanding to know why only his eldest daughter must go. The stranger reassures him that the family will be reunited after meeting Lord Jang Kong. But her father remains suspicious. Memories of her family's tragic deaths from her previous life flood her mind. Guilt crushes her chest. She cannot allow history to repeat itself. After a moment of hesitation, she agrees to go with the horseman. Her sister is shocked. Even Yanwu herself is uncertain. Yet if she wants to avoid Hyojo, she sees no other choice. At that moment, her mother intervenes. Frustrated, she tells everyone to stop pressuring Yanwu. She accuses her daughter of always doing things her own way without considering how much worry she causes the family. When Yan Wu tries to explain, her mother cuts her off and tells her to do whatever she wants. As her family departs with the guard, Yan Wu silently watches them leave. Deep inside, she makes a solemn vow. This time, she will protect them. No matter what. The mysterious horseman remarks that she is an unusual woman. Most people would never agree to be left alone with a stranger under such circumstances. Yan Wu extends her hand and calmly says that she has little choice. She is certain he wishes to discuss something important. The man takes her hand and gently kisses it, saying that it is an honor to hold the hand of such a beautiful woman in the underworld. Then he asks what she wants from him. Yan Wu takes a deep breath. This is her third life in the underworld. Every time she dies here, she eventually returns to this same place. Having endured 2 lifetimes of suffering, she has learned one undeniable truth. No one can escape the underworld, and no one can remain hidden from Hyojo forever. The thought of reliving her previous fate fills her with despair. She would rather die. Gathering every ounce of courage she possesses, she looks directly into the stranger's eyes and makes a shocking request. She tells him to claim her as his own. The horseman blinks in disbelief. He points out that asking such a thing from someone she has only just met is incredibly bold. He wonders whether she truly understands the meaning behind her words. Without hesitation, Yen Wu answers that she does. Because if becoming his woman is what it takes to escape Hyojo's grasp, then she is willing to do whatever it takes. The stranger can only stare at her in complete confusion. The mysterious man leaned closer and gently tucked a strand of Yan Wu's hair behind her ear. Studying her expression, he remarked that her confession seemed strangely sad. He wondered aloud why someone proposing to become his woman would wear such a mournful expression. His curiosity about her continued to grow, but he made one thing clear. He would not accept a woman he knew nothing about. Before he could say anything more, Yan Wu interrupted him. She insisted that he had no choice but to accept her. She quickly laid out her reasoning. Normally, when outsiders arrived in the underworld, they would either receive medical attention or be sent home. Instead, he had arranged for her family to be taken to meet Lord Jang Kong. That alone suggested there were special rules governing their situation. Furthermore, he had specifically requested to speak with her in private, meaning he had already broken protocol for her sake. A sharp smile appeared on her face as she asked whether her conclusions were wrong. The man smiled back, clearly amused. He admitted that her request was far more complicated than it first appeared. Rather than answering directly, he suddenly lifted her into his arms and effortlessly placed her on his horse. Then he proposed a deal. As he had already explained, he did not accept strangers. More importantly, he doubted that she genuinely wished to become his woman. He could tell there was another motive hidden behind her words. He asked her to be honest. What was it that she truly wanted? Looking down at him from atop the horse, Yan Wu finally revealed her real wish. No matter what happened to her, she begged him to protect them. The man smiled softly. At last, he understood. Without another word, he mounted the horse behind her and urged it into a gallop. As they rode through the underworld, he pointed out that they had not yet exchanged names. Introducing himself as Haida, he asked for hers. Yan Wu introduced herself properly. For the first time in what felt like ages, she allowed herself to relax. Closing her eyes, she enjoyed the wind brushing against her face. It had been a very long time since she had experienced such freedom. Haida complimented her name, calling it beautiful. After some time, they finally arrived at their destination, Haida explained that they were entering through the castle's rear entrance. Before proceeding, he advised her to keep her silver hair hidden because it attracted too much attention. As Yan Wu glanced toward the entrance, a cluster of flowers nearby immediately caught her eye. Noticing her interest, Haida explained that these flowers existed only in the underworld. Since the realm was perpetually covered in darkness and illuminated only by the red glow of lava, the flowers survived by feeding on the ash produced by those fiery pits. After listening to his explanation, Yan Wu simply nodded. However, the flowers stirred unpleasant memories. A flashback surfaced in her mind. She remembered Hyojo once giving her those very same flowers and telling her they bloomed as beautifully as she did. The memory instantly filled her with disgust. She stared at the flowers with open hatred. Haida noticed her reaction but wisely chose not to comment. Whatever memories those flowers carried, he understood they were painful. To Yan Wu, they represented something far worse than beauty. They were a reminder that she had returned to the very place she despised. Just then, the rear door opened. A woman stepped outside and called for Haida. She informed him that everyone had been waiting for his return. The moment Yan Wu heard the woman's voice, her eyes widened. She recognized it immediately. The woman approached with a warm smile and introduced herself as Serim. She explained that she would be assisting Yan Wu from now on. The sight of her triggered another powerful memory. Yan Wu remembered lying in bed during her previous life, while Serim sat beside her, holding her hands and comforting her. Serim had encouraged her to admit when she was suffering and promised that she would always remain by her side. Back in the present, a bittersweet smile appeared on Yan Wu's face. She was genuinely happy to see Serim again. Serim informed her that her family had already been settled into comfortable accommodations. At first, this news brought relief. Then realization struck. Serim had once been one of Hyojo's subordinates. Confusion immediately filled her mind. Why was everything different? Meanwhile, Haida instructed Serim to help Yan Wu settle in. He requested that her silver hair be dyed another color, any color at all, as long as it was less noticeable. He also ordered her to be given a bath and a fresh change of clothes before being brought to his chamber. Yan Wu blinked in surprise. Haida simply smiled mischievously and informed her that they would be spending the night together. Later, as Serim guided Yan Wu through the enormous residence, she cheerfully explained that this would now be her home and encouraged her to explore freely. Yan Wu thanked her but seemed noticeably uncomfortable. After gathering her courage, she finally spoke. She asked Serim not to address her so formally. She preferred a more casual relationship between them. She also wanted to clear up what she believed was a misunderstanding. Despite Haida's earlier comments, there was nothing romantic happening between them. Before she could finish, Serim shook her head. She explained that Haida himself had addressed her respectfully, making it inappropriate for a servant to speak casually to her. Then Serim revealed something even more surprising. This was the first time Haida had ever brought a woman home. Yan Wu was genuinely shocked. Her mind immediately returned to the memory of Haida kissing her hand. Despite that gesture, he had never struck her as someone interested in romance. Serim looked as though she wanted to say more, but stopped herself. After a moment, she quietly admitted that it was not her place to discuss the matter. Still, she was certain of one thing. Yan Wu was special to Haida. Hearing those words left Yan Wu even more confused. As they continued walking, she asked Serim what kind of person Haida truly was. In response, Serim asked if she knew anything about guardian spirits. Pretending ignorance, Yan Wu admitted that she had never heard of them. Serim immediately began explaining. Everyone born in the underworld possessed the spirit of a beast. These supernatural entities were known as guardian spirits. Some were weak, such as rabbits or sparrows. Others were tremendously powerful, such as tigers that stood at the top of the natural hierarchy. In moments of extreme danger, people could manifest their guardian spirits. The stronger the spirit, the stronger and more respected the individual became. Yan Wu listened attentively despite already knowing all of this. She knew that the king possessed a tiger spirit. She also knew that Hyojo's guardian spirit was a brown bear. Then Serim revealed Haida's spirit. He possessed the spirit of a black wolf. Because of this, many people referred to him as the Black Wolf. A look of realization crossed Yan Wu's face. Thinking back to their first meeting, she could not deny that the title suited him perfectly. Later, Yan Wu found herself relaxing in a warm bath while Serim and several maids discussed potential hair colors. The maids insisted that her fair complexion would suit almost any shade. After some consideration, Serim jokingly suggested dyeing it black to match Haida's hair. Seeing Serim's enthusiasm brought a smile to Yan Wu's face. The Serim she remembered from her previous life had never been particularly sociable. This cheerful and lively version felt both familiar and strangely new. As she watched her, Yan Wu remembered the promise Serim had once made, a promise to remain by her side no matter what happened. Because it was Serim, Yan Wu wanted to believe that promise still held true. So many things had already changed. The place where she should have encountered Hyojo had instead led her to Haida. She had met Serim in Haida's residence rather than Hyojo's castle. Even her appearance had changed. Her silver hair remained an unsolved mystery. Picking up a few strands, she stared at them with discomfort. Sarum quickly stopped her, warning that the dye might stain her hands. As Yan Wu sat quietly in the bath, a strange feeling settled over her. Everything was different this time. The altered encounters, the changed circumstances, the silver hair, each difference seemed to be pointing toward a single truth. This life would not follow the same path as the ones before it. For the first time since returning to the underworld, Yan Wu began to wonder whether fate itself was giving her a chance to rewrite her future. For the first time since arriving in the underworld, Yan Wu felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this life would be different. Maybe, just this once, fate would allow things to unfold in a way she had only ever dreamed of. Her thoughts were interrupted when Sir suddenly cried out in frustration. The maid explained that she had carefully applied the dye to Yan Wu's hair, but it refused to change color. The only effect was that it had dulled the brilliant shine of the silver strands. Yan Wu calmly assured her that it was fine. As long as the hair no longer attracted attention, that was enough. Sir, however, looked genuinely disappointed. She admitted that she had secretly hoped to make Yan Wu's hair match Hida's black hair. Yan Wu stared at her in disbelief. So that had been her goal all along. Unable to help herself, she laughed softly and reassured the maid that it could not be helped. She even complimented Sir's own hair color before thanking her for all her hard work. Satisfied, Sir finally excused herself and left Yan Wu alone to enjoy her bath. As the warm water soothed her body, Yan Wu reflected on everything that had happened since her arrival. Her thoughts eventually returned to Hida. He had proposed a deal, yet she realized she still did not fully understand what he wanted from her. A faint sense of uncertainty crept into her heart. Still, Sir's words lingered in her mind. Could she really be special to him? If she was, perhaps he would protect her and her family regardless of any conditions attached to their agreement. Eventually, she stepped out of the bath and wrapped a robe around herself. Just as she was adjusting to the cool air, a familiar voice called out from nearby. Hida asked if she had finished bathing. Startled, Yan Wu spun around. Her cheeks instantly flushed. Hida casually admitted that he had heard women usually took a long time to get ready, but honestly, waiting for her had not been unpleasant at all. His words only made her more flustered. Stammering, she demanded to know what he was doing there. Trying to calm the situation, Hida smiled and told her not to be angry. Then, with a playful push, he reminded her that she was the one who had approached him first. After all, she was the one who had asked him to take her as his woman. Embarrassed, Yan Wu immediately looked away. She pointed out that he had already made it clear he did not accept women he did not know. Hida nodded. That was true. But that was exactly why he had come. He explained that they still needed to discuss the terms of their agreement. Since he had accepted her request, it was only fair that she accepted his conditions as well. Curious, Yan Wu asked what those conditions were. A confident smile spread across Hida's face. The answer, he claimed, was simple. From this day forward, he wanted her to become his bride. He calmly stated that he wished for her to become his wife. The proposal immediately irritated her. She accused him of playing with her emotions. Earlier, he had treated her request as unreasonable and practically dismissed it. Now he was suddenly asking her to marry him. Clenching her fists, she demanded to know if he realized how unfair that sounded. Hida listened quietly before gently tucking a few strands of hair behind her ear. Then he apologized. He admitted that he had failed to explain himself properly and had not considered how his actions might affect her feelings. To ask a stranger to take responsibility for her so soon clearly meant she was facing an incredibly difficult situation. And as it turned out, he was facing one as well. His proposal was not a joke, nor was it a lie. He simply needed her to understand his circumstances first. Hida then revealed an important truth about the underworld. Lord Jiang Kong was not only the king, but also the head of the strongest family in the realm. Currently, there were two candidates being considered as his successor. Yan Wu's eyes widened. As far as she remembered, Jiang Kong only had one son. Hida continued. One candidate was Hyojo, Jiang Kong's direct descendant. The second candidate was Hida himself, a distant cousin of the royal family. That revelation shocked her. Hida explained that Hyojo viewed him as an obstacle to the throne. Simply by existing, Hida threatened Hyojo's claim. To prove that he had no interest in becoming the next ruler, he needed a wife who had absolutely no connection to the royal family. Then Yan Wu had appeared. Looking directly at her, he asked whether she would consider becoming his pretend wife. Once she had made her decision, he told her to come to his chambers. Later that evening, dressed in elegant attire, Yan Wu made her way toward Hida's room. As she walked, countless doubts filled her mind. In all her previous lives, she had never heard anyone mention a distant cousin named Hida. How much of his story was true? How much was a lie? In the end, none of it mattered. She had no better option. When she entered the room, Hida welcomed her warmly. Yan Wu had already made up her mind. Whatever his intentions were, she would use every opportunity available to protect herself and her family. If he was using her, then she would use him as well. Hida immediately noticed the determination in her eyes and asked if she had reached a decision. She nodded. She would become his wife. A pleased smile spread across his face. The deal was officially made. Offering her his hand, Hida guided her toward the bed. He explained that they needed to appear convincing. To outsiders, they had to look like two people who had fallen deeply in love at first sight. Slowly, he leaned closer. His lips drifted toward her neck as he asked if she would be comfortable with such displays. Then his attention shifted to her earrings. He remarked that he had specifically instructed Saram not to let her wear them, and wondered if the maid had forgotten. As he leaned closer again, his lips hovering near her ear, everything suddenly changed. A vivid memory exploded inside Yan Wu's mind. She remembered Hyojo. She remembered him leaning close in exactly the same way. His voice echoed through her memories. He had once told her never to forget that the only person allowed to touch her so intimately was him. Terror consumed her. Her eyes widened. Without thinking, she screamed for Hida to let her go. Startled, he immediately stopped. Confusion spread across his face as he loosened his hold on her. But Yan Wu kept screaming. The panic from her past overwhelmed her completely. Though she struggled against him, Hida carefully helped her sit down and released her entirely. He could not understand what had caused such a violent reaction. Outside the room, 3 maids had been listening near the door. One wondered what the noise had been. Another was certain she had heard a woman scream. Saram stepped closer, trying to listen. The other 2 immediately warned her that if she got caught, she would be severely punished. At that exact moment, the door opened. Hida stood there. The 2 maids quickly fled. Only Saram remained. Hida reminded her that he had instructed her to wait for orders, and certainly had not given permission to eavesdrop. Saram calmly replied that she thought he might need assistance on such an important night. Hida sighed. The important night was over, and it would not be happening again. Naturally, Saram asked what had gone wrong. Instead of answering directly, Hida simply told her to see for herself. When Saram entered the room, she found Yan Wu unconscious on the bed. After examining her, Saram concluded that she had merely fainted and would recover after some rest. Curious, she asked what had caused such a reaction. Hida merely replied that he had done nothing. The answer earned him a teasing look. Saram remarked that he was capable in countless situations, yet somehow managed to mishandle this one. Hida ignored the comment. His thoughts remained fixed on Yan Wu. Even before she collapsed, she had never truly been looking at him. It was as though her mind had been trapped somewhere else entirely. He could not stop wondering what haunted her so deeply. Saram encouraged him to be patient and treat her kindly. She reminded him that Yan Wu was important. When Hida admitted he did not know how to help her, Saram changed the subject. She confirmed that she had examined the strange marks on Yan Wu's neck, but still could not identify their origin. She had hoped Hida might discover something during the evening, but given Yan Wu's condition, that would have to wait. Hida nodded. Then he ordered her to keep everything that happened that night completely secret. Saram agreed and departed. Left alone, Hida approached the sleeping woman. Looking down at her, he quietly admitted that she was making him worry. The following morning, Yan Wu suddenly sat upright in bed. The first word out of her mouth was Hyojo's name. Across the room, Hida calmly sipped tea. He asked if she had suffered a nightmare and wondered how she was feeling. Then he explained that she had collapsed the previous night and had worried everyone. Yan Wu struggled to remember what had happened. Hida reassured her that it was fine and encouraged her to eat something first. However, there was one thing he wanted clarified. She had asked for his protection. He had agreed, but he still did not know what she needed protection from. If he was going to help her, he needed the truth. Yan Wu fell silent. How much could she tell him? How much would he believe? After hesitating for a long moment, she finally spoke. She admitted that she once had a husband. She decided to begin much earlier. She started with her childhood. Her family consisted of a strict mother, a loving father, a responsible eldest daughter, and a cheerful younger sister. To outsiders, they appeared completely normal. Yet Yan Wu had always felt like she did not truly belong. She remembered a day at school when her teacher announced an upcoming Parents' Observation Day and instructed everyone to show the family newsletter to their parents. Holding the newsletter, Yan Wu wondered whether she should tell her mother about it. Later that day, she returned home and found the house messy. Growing frustrated, she scolded her younger sister, asking why everything was still a disaster when their parents would be home soon. Although Siwu promised to clean up, Yan Wu only became more irritated. Their argument was interrupted by the sound of the front door opening. Their parents had returned. Siwu immediately ran toward them, excitedly asking to be carried. Meanwhile, Yan Wu stood quietly nearby. The moment her mother looked at her with disapproval, Yan Wu instinctively lowered her head and greeted her with guilt already weighing heavily on her heart. Yan Wu continued telling Hida about her past, beginning with the complicated relationship she had always shared with her mother. After returning home one day, her mother immediately questioned the state of the house. Although Yan Wu tried to blame her younger sister Siwu, she was quickly stopped. Her mother reminded her that she was the older sibling and therefore responsible for taking care of her sister. If the older child behaved properly, the younger one would naturally follow her example. Unable to argue, Yan Wu apologized. Her mother then announced that she was going upstairs to wash up and instructed her to clean the mess before she returned. As Yan Wu silently picked up toys scattered across the floor, she thought about the upcoming parents' observation day at school. In the end, she decided not to mention it. Even if she told her mother she was always busy, Yan Wu did not want to inconvenience her. The following morning, she prepared to leave for school and politely informed everyone that she was heading out. To her surprise, her mother called her back. She asked whether Yan Wu had something important to tell her. Confused, Yan Wu asked what she meant. Her mother calmly reminded her that it was parents' observation day. Why had she not mentioned it? Yan Wu awkwardly admitted that she had not intended to hide it. She simply thought her mother would be too busy and did not want to bother her. Her mother studied her for a moment. Then she instructed Yan Wu to look her directly in the eyes and answer honestly. Did she want her mother to attend? Yan Wu hesitated. Then, quietly, she admitted that she did. More than anything, she wanted her mother to come. It had been so long since she had seen her mother smile. Her mother calmly took a sip of tea before answering. Of course she would attend. It was her daughter's class, after all. She promised that she would see her at school later. For the first time in a long while, Yan Wu felt genuinely happy. She decided that she would work harder than ever before. If her teacher praised her enough, perhaps her mother would feel proud. Maybe she would attend again next time. Maybe she could become a daughter worthy of love. Unfortunately, reality proved far crueler. At the end of the observation day, her mother expressed disappointment. She admitted that she had expected Yan Wu to be the smartest student in the class. After seeing the achievements of the other children, she felt embarrassed. She explained that she had come hoping to see something impressive, but if things remained the same, she would not return again. Yan Wu silently listened. All she wanted was for her mother to keep coming. Her mother continued, saying she had wanted to proudly tell everyone how intelligent and beautiful her daughter was. Since she had been unable to do that, she expected Yan Wu to improve. Only then would she attend another observation day. Desperate for her approval, Yan Wu quickly agreed. Soon afterward, her mother stepped away to answer a phone call and instructed Yan Wu to watch over Si Wu. The two sisters waited by the roadside. After a while, Si Wu became impatient and asked whether they should continue waiting. Yan Wu admitted that she did not know, but the call seemed nearly finished. Si Wu suggested leaving. Yan Wu refused. They should wait a little longer. Without warning, Si Wu suddenly dashed into the road. Yan Wu immediately shouted for her to come back. Panicking, she ran after her without looking. The next moment, both sisters were struck by a moving vehicle. Everything descended into chaos. People screamed for an ambulance while their mother rushed toward them in horror. When Yan Wu finally regained consciousness, she found herself lying in a hospital bed. Turning her head, she saw Si Wu nearby, covered in bandages. Relief washed over her. At least her sister was alive. At the same time, she quietly apologized for failing to protect her. Soon afterward, she overheard voices outside the room. It was her parents. Listening through the door, she heard them arguing about the hospital bills. Her mother desperately complained that they could not afford the expenses. If they failed to pay, they might lose everything and end up on the streets again. Her father attempted to calm her down, but she continued speaking until she finally broke down in tears. Those words shattered Yan Wu. Immediately, she blamed herself. If she had not asked her mother to attend the observation day, none of this would have happened. Her family would not be suffering financially. To Yan Wu, it all traced back to her own selfish wish. When the family was finally discharged from the hospital, reality dealt another blow. The medical costs were so severe that they were forced to sell their home and move into a much older house. From that point forward, her mother treated her differently. She became stricter and more critical. Every reprimand made Yan Wu feel as though she was being blamed for everything that had happened. Over time, even making eye contact with her mother became difficult. Years passed. Despite her hardships, Yan Wu eventually became a successful composer. Although the accident had permanently affected her little finger, people admired her perseverance. Her reputation continued to grow, and many praised her as a talented musician who had overcome adversity. One day, her music finally entered the charts. Excited, she rushed to share the news with her mother. Her mother congratulated her and admitted she was proud. Then, she immediately asked when Yan Wu would be sending the monthly living expenses. Yan Wu replied that payment would arrive within the week and that she would send the money as soon as she received it. Relieved, her mother thanked her and explained that money had been tight lately. Without hesitation, Yan Wu accepted the responsibility. Supporting her family had become second nature. It was a role she had long since accepted. The entire family was traveling together by car. For once, everyone was happy. Suddenly, the brakes failed. Her father desperately warned everyone to brace themselves. Moments later, the vehicle crashed. That accident became the reason they first fell into the underworld. It was also the moment Yan Wu met Hyojo. From their very first meeting, Hyojo seemed fascinated by her. He claimed she reminded him of his mother. Soon afterward, he fell in love with her at first sight. Not only did he shower her with affection, but he also treated her entire family with remarkable generosity. He welcomed them into his palace and provided them with a place to stay. For someone who had spent her life yearning for affection and approval, his attention was overwhelming. As he whispered words of love to her, feelings she had never experienced before slowly began to bloom. For the first time, it felt as though spring had arrived inside her heart. But that warmth did not last. One evening, Yan Wu stepped outside and discovered Hyojo standing among a group of people. To her horror, he was torturing them. Blood stained the scene. Shocked, she demanded to know what he was doing. Hyojo barely acknowledged the victims. Instead, he had heard one of those people had touched her. Then he calmly asked her to identify which one it was. Confused, Yan Wu tried to explain that nothing inappropriate had happened. One of them had merely caught her when she almost fell. To Hyojo, that distinction did not matter. He insisted that punishment was only natural. All she needed to do was point out the person responsible. He would kill them for her. He even casually admitted that he had done similar things before. Seeing her shocked expression, Hyojo gently took her hand. He promised to handle everything for her. And once again, he declared his love. In her vulnerable state, those words slowly distorted her perception of him. Back in the present, Hida listened carefully to every part of her story. When she finished, he struggled to believe what he had heard. He immediately offered to protect her from her former husband. His response made Yanwu pause. It dawned on her that Hida believed Hyojo was merely an ex-husband. He had no idea who Hyojo truly was. After some hesitation, Yanwu admitted that her experiences had left her afraid of men. Hida then asked a simple question. Was she afraid of him too? Yanwu quickly brushed the question aside. Hida, however, continued speaking. He reminded her that she had once boldly asked him to take her as his woman. Because of that, he felt responsible for helping her feel comfortable around him. With a teasing smile, he even joked that if she had not fainted the previous night, he would have demonstrated exactly what kind of man he was. Embarrassed, Yanwu apologized. Hida immediately waved it off and changed the subject. Instead, he revealed that they had plans for the day. A banquet was being held at one of his businesses, and he intended to attend. Yanwu questioned why she needed to accompany him. Hida explained that if they were pretending to be lovers, then they needed to act like lovers. He even asked whether she would be comfortable making their relationship public. Then he informed her that she would need to accompany him on future engagements as well. He reassured her that Sarum and a young man named Soho would always be available whenever she needed assistance. Introducing Soho, Hida explained that although the young man was still inexperienced, he was exceptionally talented and would protect her whenever Hida was unavailable. Yanwu accepted the arrangement. However, she became startled when Hida casually mentioned that they would be sharing a room. To him, it was perfectly natural. Although she reluctantly agreed, discomfort lingered in her heart. Then Hida added another surprise. After the banquet, he planned to visit Lord Zhang Kong and formally introduce Yan Wu as his lover. The situation was progressing much faster than she had expected. As thoughts of Hyojo surfaced once again, her body began trembling. She tried to reassure herself. She would be attending as Hida's lover. Surely Hyojo would not dare treat her carelessly under those circumstances. Yet her fear refused to disappear. Hida immediately noticed. Concerned, he pointed out that she had looked troubled for quite some time. Then, with surprising gentleness, he wiped her face with a towel. Yan Wu quickly insisted that she was fine and had merely gotten lost in thought. Trying to change the subject, she asked whether they had arrived. Instead of answering immediately, Hida reassured her. From now on, she was his lover. Nothing would happen to her. He promised. Feeling slightly comforted, Yan Wu accepted his hand. Together they entered the banquet. The servants immediately bowed in greeting. Yan Wu remembered Hida describing this place as a small business. The luxurious surroundings suggested otherwise. Soon, an elegant woman approached and warmly greeted Hida. She introduced herself as Dei, the establishment's most celebrated performer. After exchanging pleasantries, Dei noticed Yan Wu standing beside him and asked who she was. Without hesitation, Hida answered. Yan Wu was his lover. Although surprised, Dei quickly recovered and welcomed her as an honored guest. Then she took the stage and began performing. The audience became captivated by her music. When the performance ended, Hida applauded enthusiastically and praised her talent. Delighted by his praise, Dei explained that she had practiced tirelessly to present him with an even better performance. Impressed, Hida decided to reward her. He told her to ask for anything she desired. Nobody expected her response. Smiling, Dei turned toward Yan Wu. Then she made a single request. She wanted Yan Wu to perform a song. Immediately, every eye in the room shifted toward her. Caught completely off guard, Yan Wu stared in confusion and asked whether Dei was truly speaking to her. Dei smiled and confirmed that she was. Just like that, the atmosphere changed. What had begun as a pleasant banquet suddenly became very uncomfortable, as all attention focused squarely on Yan Wu. Yan Wu continued recounting her past, revealing the painful memories that had shaped her long before she ever entered the underworld. When she was younger, her mother often held her to impossibly high standards. One day, after returning home, her mother immediately questioned the messy state of the house. Although Yan Wu tried to shift the blame onto her younger sister, Si Wu, her mother quickly stopped her. She reminded Yan Wu that as the older sibling, it was her responsibility to guide and care for her younger sister. If the older child behaved properly, the younger one would naturally follow her example. Unable to argue, Yan Wu apologized. Her mother then informed her that she was going upstairs to wash up and instructed her to clean the house before she returned. As Yan Wu picked up toys scattered across the floor, her thoughts drifted toward the upcoming parents' observation day at school. In the end, she decided not to mention it. Even if she told her mother, she would probably be too busy to attend. Yan Wu did not want to become a burden. The next morning, she prepared to leave for school and politely announced that she was heading out. To her surprise, her mother called her back. She asked whether Yan Wu had something important to tell her. Confused, Yan Wu asked what she meant. Her mother reminded her that it was parents' observation day. Why had she not mentioned it? Yan Wu awkwardly admitted that she had not meant to hide it. She simply assumed her mother would be busy and did not want to bother her. Her mother stared at her for a moment before instructing her to look her directly in the eyes and answer honestly. Did she want her mother to attend? Yan Wu hesitated. Then, in a quiet voice, she admitted that she did. It had been so long since she had seen her mother smile. Her mother calmly sipped her tea before replying that, of course, she would attend. It was her daughter's class, after all. She promised that she would see her later at school. For the first time in a while, Yan Wu felt hopeful. She promised herself that she would work harder than ever before. If her teacher praised her enough, perhaps her mother would be proud. Maybe she would come again next time. Perhaps she could finally become a daughter worthy of love. Unfortunately, reality did not match her expectations. At the end of the school day, her mother expressed disappointment. She admitted that she had expected Yan Wu to be the smartest girl in the class. After comparing her to the other children, she felt embarrassed. She explained that she had wanted to see how well Yan Wu was doing, but if things remained the same, she would not come again. All she wanted was for her mother to keep showing up. But her mother continued, explaining that she had wanted to proudly tell everyone how smart and beautiful her daughter was. Since she could not do that, Yan Wu needed to improve. Desperate for her approval, Yan Wu immediately agreed. Soon afterward, her mother stepped away to answer a phone call and instructed Yan Wu to watch over Si Wu. The two sisters waited patiently by the roadside. After some time, Si Wu became restless and asked whether they should leave. Yan Wu admitted she was unsure, but the phone call seemed almost finished. Si Wu suggested leaving anyway. Yan Wu told her to wait just a little longer. Without warning, Si Wu suddenly ran into the road. Panicking, Yan Wu shouted for her to come back and immediately chased after her without checking for traffic. The next moment, both sisters were struck by a moving vehicle. People nearby screamed for an ambulance. Their mother rushed toward them in horror. When Yan Wu finally regained consciousness, she found herself lying in a hospital bed. Turning her head, she saw Si Wu nearby, wrapped in bandages. Relief flooded her heart. At least her sister was alive. At the same time, guilt overwhelmed her. Soon afterward, she overheard voices outside the room. It was her parents. Listening through the door, she heard them arguing about the hospital bills. Her mother desperately complained that they could not afford the expenses. If they failed to pay, they could lose everything and end up back on the streets. Her father tried to calm her down, but she continued until she finally broke down crying. Those words crushed Yan Wu. Immediately, she blamed herself. If she had not asked her mother to attend the observation day, none of this would have happened. Her sister would not have been injured. Her family would not be suffering. To Yan Wu, every tragedy seemed to begin with her. Eventually, both sisters recovered enough to leave the hospital. However, the treatment costs were devastating. The family was forced to sell their home and move into an older, less comfortable one. After the accident, her mother's attitude toward her noticeably changed. She became harsher, more critical. Every reprimand felt as though her mother blamed her for the family's misfortune. Over time, even meeting her mother's eyes became difficult. Years passed. Despite everything, Yan Wu eventually became a successful composer. Although the accident had permanently affected her little finger, people admired her determination. Her reputation grew steadily, and many praised her as a talented musician who had overcome tremendous hardship. One day, one of her songs finally entered the charts. Excited beyond words, she rushed to share the news with her mother. Her mother congratulated her and admitted she was proud. Then she immediately asked when Yan Wu would be sending the monthly living expenses. Yan Wu calmly replied that she expected payment within the week and would transfer the money as soon as she received it. Relieved, her mother thanked her and explained how difficult the month had been financially. Without hesitation, Yan Wu accepted the responsibility. Supporting her family had become a duty she never questioned. Then came the day that changed her life forever. The entire family was traveling together by car. For once, everyone seemed happy. Suddenly, the brakes failed. Her father shouted for everyone to be careful. Moments later, the car crashed. That accident became the reason they first arrived in the underworld. It was also where Yanwu met Hyojo. From the very beginning, Hyojo appeared captivated by her. He claimed that she reminded him of his mother. Then, he fell in love with her at first sight. Not only did he treat Yanwu kindly, but he also extended extraordinary hospitality to her entire family. He welcomed them into his palace and provided them with a place to stay. For someone who had spent her entire life craving affection and approval, his attention felt overwhelming. As he whispered words of love to her, feelings she had never experienced before slowly began to bloom. For the first time, it felt as though spring had arrived in her heart. But the illusion did not last. One night, Yanwu stepped outside and discovered Hyojo standing among several people. To her horror, he was torturing them. Blood stained the scene. Shocked, she demanded to know what he was doing. Hyojo barely acknowledged the victims. Instead, he had heard one of those people had touched her. Then he calmly asked her to identify which one it was. Confused, Yanwu explained that nothing inappropriate had happened. One of them had simply caught her when she almost fell. To Hyojo, that distinction did not matter. He insisted that punishment was natural. All she had to do was point out the person responsible. He even casually admitted that he had already done similar things to other innocent people. Seeing her horrified expression, Hyojo gently took her hand. He promised to handle everything for her. Then once again he declared his love. At the time, Yanwu was emotionally vulnerable. Slowly, his words began to influence the way she saw him. Back in the present, Haida listened carefully to her entire story. When she finished, he looked genuinely disturbed. He immediately asked whether something like that had really happened and offered to protect her from her former husband. His response caught Yanwu off guard. For a moment she realized that Haida seemed to think Hyojo was merely an ex-husband rather than the terrifying figure she knew him to be. After a brief silence, she admitted that her experiences had left her afraid of men. Haida then asked if she was afraid of him too. Yanwu quickly dismissed the question. However, Haida continued speaking. He reminded her that she had once boldly asked him to take her as his woman. Because of that, he felt responsible for helping her feel comfortable around him. With a teasing smile, he even joked that if she had not fainted the previous night, he would have shown her exactly what kind of man he was. Embarrassed, Yanwu apologized. Haida immediately waved the apology away and changed the subject. Instead, he revealed that they had plans for the day. A banquet was being held at one of his businesses, and he intended to attend. Yanwu questioned why she needed to accompany him. Haida explained that if they were pretending to be lovers, then they needed to act like lovers. He even asked whether she would be comfortable making their relationship public. Then he informed her that she would need to accompany him during future engagements as well. He reassured her that Sarim and a young man named Soho would always be available whenever she needed assistance. Introducing Soho, Haida explained that although he was young, he was highly capable and would protect her whenever Haida was unavailable. Yanwu accepted the arrangement. However, she was startled when Haida casually mentioned that they would be sharing a room. To him, it was perfectly natural. They were lovers, after all. Although she reluctantly agreed, uneasiness lingered in her heart. Then Haida revealed another surprise. After the banquet, he intended to visit Lord Jang Khan and formally introduce Yanwu as his lover. The situation was progressing far more quickly than she expected. As thoughts of Hyojo resurfaced, her body began trembling. She tried to reassure herself. She would be attending as Haida's lover. Surely Hyojo would not dare treat her carelessly under those circumstances. Yet her fear refused to disappear. Haida immediately noticed. Concerned, he pointed out that she had seemed troubled for quite some time. Then, with surprising gentleness, he wiped her face with a towel. Yanwu quickly insisted that she was fine and had simply gotten lost in thought. Trying to redirect the conversation, she asked whether they had arrived. Instead of answering immediately, Haida offered reassurance. From now on, she was his lover. Nothing would happen to her. He promised. Hearing those words, Yanwu slowly relaxed. Trusting him, at least for the moment, she placed her hand in his. Together, they stepped forward and made their way toward the banquet hall. The attendants bowed respectfully to welcome Lord Haida. Yanwu immediately remembered how he had casually described this place as a small shop. Looking around, she realized that description had been a massive understatement. The building was luxurious, the atmosphere refined, and everything about it suggested wealth and influence far beyond what she had expected. Before she could fully take in her surroundings, an elegant woman approached them with a warm smile. Introducing herself as Dei, she greeted Haida respectfully. After exchanging pleasantries, Dei modestly introduced herself as the establishment's best performer, though she jokingly claimed that people often praised her too much. Her attention then shifted to the woman standing beside him. Curious, she asked who Yanwu was. Without hesitation, Haida answered, Yan Wu was his lover. The declaration visibly surprised Day. However, she recovered quickly and politely welcomed Yan Wu as a precious guest. She promised to serve them with even greater sincerity than usual before excusing herself to begin her performance. A short while later, Day took her place before the Gaiagium and began to play. The beautiful melody immediately captivated the audience. When the performance ended, applause echoed throughout the hall. Hida joined in, praising her skill and telling her that her reputation as the best performer was well-deserved. Delighted by the compliment, Day explained that she had practiced tirelessly in hopes of presenting him with an even better song than before. Impressed, Haida decided to reward her. He announced that he would grant her one wish and invited her to ask for anything she desired. The offer clearly caught her off guard. After a brief pause, she made a request that surprised everyone. She asked for Yan Wu to perform a song. Yan Wu blinked in confusion. Surely she had misheard. Looking around, she pointed at herself and asked whether Day was truly speaking to her. Day smiled and confirmed that she was. Suddenly, every eye in the room shifted toward Yan Wu. The atmosphere became uncomfortable almost instantly. Sensing her hesitation, Day explained her reasoning. She had noticed the calluses on Yan Wu's fingers earlier. Those marks were familiar to her. In her experience, performers could always recognize other performers. The condition of Yan Wu's hands suggested years of practice with musical instruments. Therefore, Day believed that if her assumption was correct, then Yan Wu's performance would surely be just as beautiful as her appearance. He asked whether she could play. Yan Wu quietly nodded. Smiling, Hida encouraged her to perform if she wished, though he made it clear that she should not feel pressured. If she did not want to play, nobody would force her. After a moment of consideration, Yan Wu accepted. Although the request had come unexpectedly, she agreed to perform. Then she asked a question that caught Hida off guard. Confused, he asked what she meant. Yan Wu explained that since Day's performance had earned her a wish, her own performance should qualify as well. Hida laughed softly. He told her that she still did not know him very well. Even if she never touched an instrument, he would gladly grant every wish she asked of him. His answer brought a genuine smile to her face. Quietly, she thanked him. Little by little, she was beginning to feel comfortable around him. Walking toward the instrument, Yan Wu settled herself before the Gaiagium. Then she introduced the piece she was about to perform. The song was untitled. She explained that she had composed it during one of the darkest periods of her life, back when she had been trapped in a small room without windows, imprisoned by Hyojo's obsession. As the empty days repeated endlessly, she found comfort in music. The Gaiagum became her companion. Into this song she poured every emotion she could no longer express aloud, her regret for ever loving him, her sorrow, her resentment, and above all, her hatred. Then she began to play. The first notes silenced the entire room. Everyone present became completely absorbed. In the melody, the music carried a depth of pain that words could never fully capture. Even Day stood frozen in a corner, watching with widened eyes. She immediately realized that she was witnessing something extraordinary. Meanwhile, Hida listened in complete silence. For the first time since meeting Yan Wu, he felt as though he was hearing the true voice hidden inside her heart. The performance affected everyone. When the final note faded away, the hall remained silent for a moment. Then thunderous applause erupted. Hida looked at her with genuine admiration. He declared it the most beautiful performance he had ever heard. Since she had fulfilled her part of the bargain, he promised to honor his word and asked what wish she wanted granted. Before she could answer, however, another person reached her limit. Watching the entire scene unfold had become unbearable for Day. Unable to hide her emotions any longer, she quietly left the hall. As she walked away, tears welled in her eyes. She remembered Hida's praise, the most beautiful performance he had ever heard. The words echoed painfully in her mind. For a long time she had believed that the seat beside him belonged to her. Now someone else occupied that place. And for the first time, jealousy began taking root in her heart. A jealousy dangerous enough to cause problems in the future. After the banquet finally ended, Hida and Yan Wu walked together through the quiet halls. Still impressed, Hida admitted that he was genuinely shocked by her talent. He had never expected her to play the Gaiagium so beautifully. Yan Wu thanked him. Curious, Haida asked whether she had often played instruments back on Earth. She shook her head. Music had been her profession. Because of that, she had learned a variety of instruments, though she considered herself proficient rather than exceptional with most of them. She also revealed that she had composed numerous songs throughout her life, though it had been a very long time since she personally performed any of them. As they continued walking, Hida brought up something he had noticed during her performance. Her little finger had trembled slightly while she played. It looked as though it had once been injured. Concerned, he asked whether it still hurt. Yan Wu glanced at her hand. She admitted that she had injured it many years ago. Although the injury prevented her from performing perfectly, the pain itself had long since disappeared. Hida frowned slightly. He called it a shame. His response surprised her. Most people simply praised her skill. Very few acknowledged what she had lost. Haida explained that her music was already beautiful. If not for the injury, however, it might have been even more extraordinary. For a moment, Yan Wu was speechless. Then she quietly thanked him. His words touched her more deeply than ordinary compliments ever could. Rather than ignoring her weakness, he had recognized both her talent and the sacrifice that accompanied it. The conversation gradually shifted. Haida reminded her about the wish she wanted to request. Immediately, Yan Wu fell into thought. There was something she wanted to ask. More than anything, she wanted separate rooms. The idea of sharing a room still made her nervous. However, she hesitated. Their relationship was supposed to convince others that they were lovers. Perhaps sharing a room was necessary. Furthermore, the events of their first night together had already ended badly because of her reaction. Unsure of what to say, Yan Wu remained silent. For the first time in a while, she found herself struggling to decide what she truly wanted. Yan Wu suddenly looked up and realized they had walked much farther than she expected. Instead of revealing her wish, she simply asked where they were. Wei calmly explained that the place was sponsored by his clan and happened to be his favorite spot. Without hesitation, he removed his shoes and stepped into the ash. He explained that the wall surrounding the area was low, allowing volcanic ash to gather there. According to him, walking through it barefoot felt like stepping on clouds. At first, Yan Wu refused and insisted she was fine. However, Wei pointed out that she had been tense ever since arriving in the underworld. Eventually, she gave in, removed her shoes, and said she would only try it for a moment. The instant her feet touched the ash, she was surprised by how soft it felt. At the same time, she realized it had been a long while since she had experienced something so simple and comforting. The peaceful atmosphere did not last long. Suddenly, Wei kicked a cloud of ash toward her. She protested immediately, but he only laughed and encouraged her to enjoy herself. Eventually, she retaliated by throwing ash back at him. Afterward, she quickly apologized and reminded him that she had warned him. Wei casually brushed it off, saying it was fine and assuming she simply could not hold back. As Yan Wu watched him laugh, she found herself thinking he looked unexpectedly handsome. Before long, she was laughing too. After their playful exchange, the two sat together on top of the fence. Wei asked whether she liked the place, before casually revealing that it was actually the room she would be staying in. Surprised, Yan Wu asked whether she was not supposed to share a room with him. He explained that his own room was right next door, and that a small side entrance connected the two rooms, meaning they would still be close by. He then joked about his appearance, saying that since she was afraid of men, there was no way she would feel comfortable sharing a room with him anyway. This arrangement, he said, would be much better and would not burden her. He reminded her that the house was large and filled with empty rooms, before encouraging her to get plenty of rest. Grateful for his consideration, Yan Wu thanked him. Later that night, Lord Hua walked down a hallway only to find Soho kneeling before him. When he asked what was happening, Soho revealed that he had finally found the person they had been searching for. The scene then shifted as Hojo and Yan Wu rode together in a chariot. Eventually, the carriage came to a stop. Looking ahead, Yan Wu immediately recognized Zhang Gong's castle. The realization struck her hard. This was the very day she might see Hojo again. The mere thought of him made her feel dizzy. Hojo noticed her discomfort at once and asked whether she was all right. She quickly apologized and claimed she had simply felt nauseous for a moment. However, he reminded her of the promise he had made. He would never allow anything to torment her again. As he spoke, he moved slightly closer. Yet Yan Wu immediately turned her face away and insisted she was fine. She had already sworn to herself that she would never again allow Hojo to fill her with fear, even if the situation remained terrifying. Without another word, she headed toward the entrance, leaving him slightly confused. She then asked whether they should go inside. He agreed. The moment they entered the palace, Yan Wu froze. Everything remained exactly as she remembered it. The structure, the decorations, and even the placement of individual objects were unchanged. The familiarity dragged her into a trance. Suddenly, she imagined Hojo standing directly behind her. In her mind, she could hear him whispering that she had finally arrived while his hand rested around her neck. The vision made her tremble. Seeking comfort, she instinctively grabbed the edge of Heda's clothing. Although he noticed her action, he continued forward and loudly announced their arrival to Lord Jiangong. A voice from inside invited them to enter. That only made Yan Wu tremble more. She was convinced that the moment the door opened, she would come face to face with her former husband. But when the door finally opened, it was not Hojo standing there. Instead, it was Lord Jiangong himself, ruler of the underworld. His attention immediately shifted toward Yan Wu. He asked whether she was Heida's lover and then requested her name. She introduced herself as Yan Wu. Jiangong remarked that Hojo's habit of hiding her away made it seem as though he intended to harm her by summoning her there. Confused, Yan Wu wondered why Hojo was absent. In her previous life, he had always remained by Jiangong's side. Hua quickly denied any such intentions. Jiangong then questioned why it had taken him so long to visit. Meanwhile, Yanwu quietly began to hope that perhaps she would never meet Hojo at all in this lifetime. After a brief exchange, Jiang Gong stated that he had wanted to meet Hua in person and that now he should return home and rest. However, before they left, he requested a moment alone with Haida. Yanwu agreed and stepped outside. Once she was gone, Jiang Gong commented that she was a beautiful young woman and advised Haida to help her adjust to life in the underworld. Then his expression changed. Addressing him as Black Wolf, Jiang Gong made it clear that he knew exactly why he had summoned him. Outside, Yanwu reflected on everything that had happened. For a moment she had truly believed she would meet Hojo again, but nothing had occurred. Relief slowly washed over her. Perhaps this was finally the end. If Jiang Gong never summoned her again, she would never need to return. Leaning against a nearby tree, she allowed herself to relax. Then she heard footsteps. Her heart immediately froze. Turning around, she saw a familiar figure. It was Hojo. Fear gripped her once more as she wondered why he was there. In a low voice, Hojo questioned what was so special about someone who looked no different from anyone else. He even remarked that Ha seemed completely wrapped around her finger. As he stepped closer, the tension rose sharply. The piece she had just found vanished instantly. A moment later, Yanwu hid herself and covered her mouth as he walked past. For a brief second, she sighed with relief, believing he was gone. Then a voice suddenly spoke from behind her. "Who are you?" Her entire body trembled. Slowly turning around, she found him standing there once again. He looked exactly like the Hojo from her memories. As he questioned her repeatedly about her identity and why she was hiding, she found herself unable to answer. Only one thought echoed through her mind. It was him. Noticing her reaction, Hojo remarked that she seemed terribly startled. He then reached out his hand and offered to help her up. Immediately, Yanwu's thoughts spiraled. What was he planning? At the same time, she remembered something important. In the past, reacting too strongly only encouraged him to pursue her further. Determined not to repeat her mistakes, she remained silent. Though it was difficult, she carefully placed her hand in his. Hojo pulled her closer, nearly into his arms, as he lifted her from the ground. The sudden proximity made her panic. She immediately yanked her hand away and shouted for him to let go. Rather than becoming angry, Hojo simply apologized. He remarked that she had reminded him of a frightened little mouse, and that he had felt like playing with her. Looking down at the bruises forming on her hand, Yanwu felt disgusted. He had always been like this. He never cared about her feelings and always did whatever he pleased. Gathering her courage, she told him that playing such games with someone he had only just met was unpleasant. Rather than backing down, Hojo called her cheeky and questioned whether she knew who she was speaking to. The moment he spoke her name, she quickly declared that she was Lord Hua's lover and warned him not to treat her carelessly. Basic manners alone, she argued, should make that obvious. Hojo merely laughed. Calling her Hua's woman, he remarked that she was surprisingly fierce. He even joked that Hua must have enjoyed himself with her and admitted that he had once believed the rumor that Hua was a eunuch. Now, however, he found it disappointing that the rumor appeared false. His comments only made the situation more uncomfortable. Afterward, he asked for her name. When she answered, Yanwu, he smiled and remarked that it was a beautiful name. The uneasy atmosphere deepened. Fortunately, Sarum soon arrived looking for her. The moment Sarum noticed Hojo, she visibly stiffened. Yanwu requested a moment alone and claimed she needed to rest. Despite Sarum repeatedly calling after her, she explained that her legs felt weak and left. Not long afterwards, Sarum caught up with her and asked what had happened. Yanwu apologized and requested permission to return home. Sarum agreed. Later, when Ha returned, Sarum informed him of everything. His first question was where Yanwu was. When Sarum explained that she was resting, he praised her for handling the situation well before asking what exactly had happened. Unfortunately, Sarum admitted she did not know, because Yanwu had been alone. Still, she revealed one important detail. Yanwu had seemed absolutely terrified of something. Hearing that, Ha became concerned. Nothing unusual had happened during the meeting with Lord Jiang Gong. Then Sarum added one final detail. Before Yanwu left the garden, Lord Hojo had emerged from the same area. Several hours earlier, Lord Jiang Gong had called Hua the Black Wolf closer. He expressed his gratitude to Hua and his brother, explaining that their presence helped maintain peace throughout the underworld. Suddenly, he began coughing violently. Although Hua immediately stepped forward to help, Jiang Gong waved him off and insisted he was fine. He explained that age was finally catching up with him and that his body no longer obeyed him as it once had. He then admitted that he could feel the time approaching when he would have to pass on his position. Hua immediately objected, insisting that he remain strong. However, Jiang Gong changed the subject and brought up Hojo. He admitted that he still did not fully trust him. In fact, despite being Hojo's father, he felt exactly the same way. Hua agreed and pointed out that their false family bond would eventually collapse. The day Hojo learned they were not related by blood would be the day everything changed. That truth would inevitably surface once Hojo inherited the throne. Jiang Gong acknowledged the mistake and admitted he had been careless. Then he asked about Yan Wu. Was she the woman Hua had been searching for? Hua hesitated. He admitted that he was not certain. Even so, something deep within him continued to hope. Jiang Gong smiled and said he hoped she was the one. In silence, Hua and Yan Wu sat together drinking tea. She apologized for leaving so suddenly the previous night, and explained that she had intended to wait but ended up leaving without saying goodbye. Hua dismissed the matter, saying it was not important. However, when he noticed she still looked pale, he asked whether she was feeling any better. Yan Wu struggled to answer. Memories of Hojo and her previous life flooded her mind. She had promised herself that this life would be different, yet seeing him again had awakened the same fear she thought she had left behind. In the end, she simply claimed she was tired. Hua encouraged her to rest and showed genuine concern. His kindness surprised her. Soon, Saram announced that her bath was ready and said she would wait outside. As Yeonwoo gathered her belongings, she reflected on Hwa's behavior. He did not seem suspicious or manipulative. He simply appeared sincerely worried about her well-being. Quietly, she found herself admiring his kindness. Just as she prepared to enter the bath, a voice from inside suddenly spoke. "There is no need for extra help." Startled, Yeonwoo looked up and froze. Ha was already inside the bath. She immediately apologized and turned to leave. But before she could take another step, he stopped her. In that moment, Yeonwoo noticed just how gentle Hwa truly was. The closeness between them left her uncertain, caught somewhere between embarrassment and trust. Holding her hand, Hwa asked how many people were waiting outside. He explained that Saram was not the type of person to make such a mistake. If Yeonwoo had been sent there, then it was likely done intentionally. At first, Yeonwoo did not understand. However, after thinking about it, she admitted that it was probably not an accident. Hwa then pointed out that if she suddenly left now, it might attract suspicion. Since the situation had already reached this point, he suggested that she stay and warm herself before leaving. However, he made it clear that the decision was entirely hers. Although surprised by the suggestion, Yeonwoo eventually agreed. She carefully stepped into the bath and settled into a corner, keeping as much distance as possible between them. Inwardly, she reminded herself not to behave suspiciously. Even if their relationship existed only as part of a contract, they still needed to appear convincing to others. Their eyes met briefly. The moment it happened, she quickly looked away. Hwa immediately noticed. With a faint smile, he remarked that she seemed to stare at him quite openly. Caught off guard, Yeonwoo hurriedly apologized. To her surprise, Hwa shook his head. There was no need to apologize, he said. If anyone was at fault, it was probably him. He then casually added that it would be difficult for anyone to look away from someone as beautiful as he was. The teasing comment caught her completely off guard. Moments later, however, his expression became more serious. When it came to him, he explained he never wanted her to feel sorry for anything. Yeonwoo admitted that she felt strange. There were many things about her that could easily raise suspicion. Hwa acknowledged that fact, but he had no intention of pressuring her. Instead, he would wait until she felt ready to tell him the truth herself. He would wait until she no longer carried such sadness in her heart. His words struck her deeply. The kinder he treated her, the more she wanted to open up about her past. At the same time, she found herself growing increasingly curious about him. Eventually, she lowered her gaze and quietly thanked him. Elsewhere, Hojo sat alone, drinking tea. Despite himself, his thoughts continued drifting back to Yeonwoo, the woman he had encountered earlier. Meanwhile, Yeonwoo was being dressed by Sharon, who carefully adjusted her clothing and tightened the corset behind her. As Sharon worked, she suddenly noticed a mark on Yeonwoo's shoulder blade. Curious, she pointed it out and asked whether it had always been there. The question immediately caught Yeonwoo off guard. Her mind flashed back to the moment Hojo had grabbed her. Realizing it was likely a bruise left behind by him, she quickly denied it. She insisted that there was nothing unusual there and claimed she must have accidentally bumped into something. Trying to change the subject, she called for Saram and admitted she was curious about something. Saram calmly encouraged her to speak freely. Yeonwoo explained that she was only going to teach Hwa how to play an instrument, and wondered whether she really needed to dress up so much for the occasion. Saram immediately assured her that she did. According to her, when a man and woman were involved, especially lovers, nobody could predict how things might develop. She even claimed that Yeonwoo would thank her later. Though still hesitant, Yeonwoo eventually accepted the explanation. Earlier, while they had been sitting together, Hwa had suddenly asked her for a favor. He admitted it might sound unexpected. When she asked what he meant, he brought up the song Untitled. Ever since hearing it, he confessed that he had been unable to stop thinking about it. Because of that, he wanted her to teach him how to play it. The request had left Yeonwoo momentarily speechless. Later, she arrived to meet him. The moment Hwa saw her, he quietly admitted to himself that she looked beautiful. Then again, he had expected nothing less. Meanwhile, Yeonwoo felt increasingly self-conscious and avoided meeting his eyes. Soon, the two sat together before a geogum. Yan Wu explained that there was no written sheet music and asked whether he could learn simply by listening and repeating each section. Hua agreed without hesitation. As she began to play, he watched her carefully and followed each note. The first sound drew a small smile from her lips. As the lesson continued, she complimented his ability. Men naturally possessed greater strength, which often changed the sound produced by the instrument, yet his playing remained controlled and refined. Hua thanked her for the praise. She then commented that he must be both delicate and skilled at controlling his own strength. The moment the words left her mouth, she suddenly became aware of what she was implying and quickly changed the subject. Instead, she asked whether he enjoyed exercising. Hua looked confused at first. She hurriedly explained that she was referring to the instrument. Once he understood, he chuckled and admitted that for a moment he thought she had become interested in him again. Yan Wu could only laugh awkwardly. Hua explained that he did not follow any special exercise routine. However, he practiced horseback riding and archery whenever necessary. Then he asked a question of his own. What did she like? The question caught her completely off guard. After thinking for a moment, she answered honestly, she liked the sky. More specifically, she loved the clear blue sky. Hearing that, Hua admitted that he had wanted to buy her a gift, but now it seemed like a difficult task. He then asked her to tell him more about the upper grounds. In response, Yanwu asked whether he had ever heard of snow. Seeing his confusion, she explained that it was something that fell from the sky, much like ash, except it was white, clean, and beautiful. She described how it blanketed everything in sight and transformed the world into a breathtaking landscape. As he listened, Hua remembered that she had mentioned it before. He then revealed that when he was very young, he had once visited the upper grounds and witnessed snow for himself. Before he could continue, Yan Wu suddenly lunged forward. The unexpected movement caught him completely off guard. Grabbing onto him, she urgently asked whether he knew how to reach the upper grounds. The desperation in her voice revealed a dramatic shift in her thoughts. Deep inside, Yan Wu could think of only one thing. If she could somehow find a way back to the upper grounds, perhaps she could finally sever the suffocating connection tying her to Hojo. Perhaps she could return to a peaceful life, a warm life, a life where she could live happily alongside her family without fear constantly lurking in the shadows. Hua gently steadied her, lifting her slightly and encouraging her to calm down. His voice remained steady and reassuring. Although he had once been to the upper grounds, he explained, it happened when he was extremely young. His memories were fragmented and incomplete. Furthermore, the circumstances had been unusual. His guardian spirit had gone into a violent rampage after he was forcibly taken there, turning the entire experience into chaos. As a result, very little remained clear in his memory. Hearing this, Yan Wu fell silent. The fragile hope she had been clinging to immediately began to fade. Hua noticed the change in her expression. Softly, he apologized. He knew it was not the answer she had wanted to hear. He regretted being unable to offer her something more useful. Yan Wu quickly shook her head. There was no need for him to apologize. If anything, she felt she should be the one apologizing. Although her voice remained calm, a trace of disappointment lingered beneath the surface. After studying her quietly for a moment, Hua asked whether she truly missed the upper grounds that much. Then he carefully reminded her of something else. The upper grounds were also where her former husband lived. The reminder hung heavily between them. Yan Wu deliberately ignored that part of his statement. Instead, she admitted that she missed the upper grounds deeply. That was where she belonged. It was the place that felt like home. More than anything, she wanted to see the clear blue sky again. The endless sky that stretched beyond the horizon. Hua listened without interrupting. After a short silence, he sighed softly. It seemed he had unknowingly asked something far more complicated than he intended. For that, he apologized again. Yan Wu reassured him once more and admitted that she had overreacted earlier. He had only been showing concern for her. Hua accepted her explanation with a small nod. Then his expression grew serious. There was something important he needed to tell her. From now on, she was never to leave the house at night without him. Although Yan Wu nodded obediently, her thoughts told a different story. Privately, she had no intention of fully obeying that rule. Hua then explained his reasoning. Night in the underworld was very different from night in the upper world. Souls of the dead arrived there after dark. Many of those wandering spirits were confused, unstable, and sometimes dangerous. Because of this, there were individuals tasked with guiding them safely. Those individuals were known as reapers. Yan Wu listened carefully and nodded. At the same time, she could not help finding the situation slightly ironic. After all, she already knew everything he was explaining. Revealing that fact, however, would raise far too many questions. Sensing the mood had become too heavy, Hua changed the subject. He informed her that she would be able to visit her family that very day. The lodging issue had already been resolved. For a moment, Yan Wu simply stared at him. Then genuine happiness spread across her face. Unlike before, this reaction was completely sincere. She thanked him wholeheartedly. Seeing her smile, Hua smiled faintly in return. He admitted that he preferred hearing that. Yan Wu looked surprised. Hua then explained that he liked hearing her express gratitude. From now on, he wanted her to say thank you more often instead of apologizing for everything. Quietly, she nodded and accepted his words. Later, Yan Wu stood with Saram outside her family's residence. Looking at her companion, she asked whether it would truly be all right for her to go inside alone. She also wondered whether Saram would have to wait outside for a very long time. Saram calmly reassured Yan Wu that there was nothing to worry about. She reminded her that this would be the first time she had seen her family since that day, and encouraged her to take her time and enjoy every moment with them. Yan Wu thanked her sincerely. Saram then mentioned that she had a few matters to take care of in the meantime. With that, the two parted ways, and Yan Wu continued on her own. Not long afterward, there was a knock at the door. The moment it opened, Jay immediately recognized her. Her reaction was instant. With a bright smile, she called out Yan Wu's name and rushed forward, wrapping her in a tight embrace. She excitedly commented on how successful Yan Wu must be now, pointing out her elegant appearance and the expensive clothing she was wearing. Without missing a beat, Jay loudly called for their parents, announcing Yan Wu's arrival. Their father soon appeared. The moment their eyes met, a brief silence settled between them. "It's been a long time," Yan Wu said softly. Her father let out a breath of relief. He admitted that he had been worried about her all this time. Yan Wu apologized for causing him concern and reassured him that she had been doing well. Then her mother emerged. For a moment, she simply stared at Yan Wu, as if confirming that what she was seeing was real. Only then did she ask whether it was truly her. Yan Wu greeted her as well. It was the kind of silence filled with everything that had happened, everything that had gone unsaid, and everything that remained unresolved between them. Earlier that day, Saram had been standing beside Hua when he casually asked where Yan Wu was. Although his tone remained calm, there was a subtle expectation hidden beneath it. Saram respectfully informed him that Yan Wu was preparing to go out. Hua paused briefly, seemingly considering something, then he quietly instructed Saram to take care of a particular matter once they left. His words were indirect and measured, but Saram understood immediately. Lowering her head slightly, she accepted the task without question. Back in the present, Yan Wu sat at a table with her family. The atmosphere felt strangely familiar and distant at the same time. Her father looked at her with obvious concern. It was clear he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He gently asked how she had been. Once again, Yan Wu apologized for worrying them and assured him that nothing serious had happened. She explained that the man she had met in the forest had helped her greatly and appeared to be a good person. As she spoke, she carefully chose her words, revealing only what she felt safe sharing. Her mother reached across the table and took her hand. The grip was firm but not harsh. She warned Yan Wu not to trust people too easily. The familiar sharpness in her voice remained, though it was softer than before. Then, to Yan Wu's surprise, her mother apologized for the way she had spoken to her in the past. She advised her to think carefully about the future because none of them truly understood where they were or how long they would remain there. Yan Wu nodded and apologized once more. Her mother let out a soft sigh before thanking her. From now on, she said, their family should share everything with one another. There should be no more secrets. Yan Wu quietly agreed. Yet despite her words, something in her expression remained restrained. The mood shifted when her mother's attention fell upon her clothing. A frown appeared on her face. She questioned how Yan Wu had come to possess such fine garments. Soon, her words drifted toward complaint. She spoke about their difficult living conditions, the lack of proper food, and the hardships they faced every day. Beside her, Siwu quietly raised her hands. Blisters covered her skin. In a small but honest voice, she explained that she had been working in the fields. The sight alone spoke volumes. In that moment, the harsh reality of the underworld became impossible to ignore. The air remained heavy with smoke. The sky above was never clear or blue. Instead, a dull gray haze hung endlessly overhead, creating a suffocating atmosphere that weighed on everything around them. Despite all of this, Siwu looked toward Yan Wu with hopeful eyes. She quietly asked whether they could come and live with her instead. The question caught Yan Wu off guard. Her thoughts immediately became tangled. Carefully choosing her words, she admitted that she could not make such a decision on her own. Before she could continue, her mother interrupted. She told Siwu not to place additional burdens on Yan Wu. After all, Yan Wu herself was still relying on someone else's generosity. The firm response immediately drew a line between hope and reality. Yet almost as quickly, her mother's expression softened. Her voice became gentler and more persuasive. She asked whether Yan Wu could bring supplies during her next visit. Food and necessities were running low, and life had become increasingly difficult. She even suggested speaking with the man who had helped her, implying that someone so kind might be willing to offer assistance. Faced with the request, Yan Wu found herself speechless. Then her mother pulled her into a tight embrace. Quietly, she apologized for having to depend on her this way. The weight of those words lingered heavily in the room. Everyone else remained silent. It felt as though they all understood exactly what was happening but chose not to acknowledge it aloud. In the end, Yanwu gently reassured her. She promised that she would speak to him. Even as she said the words, she felt the burden settling more heavily onto her shoulders. Eventually, it was time to leave. Her mother noticed immediately and asked why she was departing so soon. Yanwu simply explained that someone was waiting for her. Accepting the explanation, her mother nodded. However, just as Yanwu began to walk away, her mother called her back. She asked whether she was forgetting something. After a brief pause, Yanwu returned. Without hesitation, she stepped forward and embraced her mother. The hug felt strangely hollow, more obligation than comfort. As they stood together, her mother softly reminded her that she was the only person the family could truly rely upon. Yanwu closed her eyes for a moment. Then she promised that she would do her best. As she walked away, those words echoed repeatedly in her mind. She had to protect her family, no matter what. At the same time, another thought burned just as strongly within her. She also had to protect herself from Hojo. Lost in those thoughts, she continued walking until a hand suddenly grabbed hers from behind. Her entire body tensed. She quickly turned around, her heart racing. Then she saw who it was. Sarim. Almost instantly, the tension left her body. Relief replaced it. Sarim studied her carefully. Her gaze was calm but observant. She asked whether something was wrong, noting that Yanwu looked deeply unsettled. Yanwu slowly exhaled. She admitted that she had been unable to find Sarim earlier and wondered whether her emotions had truly been that obvious. Sarim apologized softly, explaining that she may not have noticed sooner. After a brief pause, she asked a simple question. Had Yanwu eaten yet? The question caught her by surprise. Only then did Yanwu realize that she had not eaten at all. Sarim suggested visiting a restaurant she liked, a buchim restaurant. She spoke so casually that it sounded as though the decision had already been made. Although uncertain, Yanwu eventually nodded and agreed. The two headed off together. Along the way, Sarim suggested visiting the market afterward, believing it might help Yanwu relax. Hearing this, Yanwu quietly wondered when she had ever mentioned liking buchim in the first place. Still, she chose not to question it. When they arrived, Sarim offered a small warning. The restaurant could be somewhat chaotic, so Yanwu should not be surprised by the atmosphere. Just before they entered, another figure appeared. It was Dehi. Greeting them with a composed smile, she immediately shifted the mood. Her attention settled on Yanwu. Noting that she had come out alone today, Dehi asked a few questions. Sarim answered briefly. Dehi then turned her full attention toward Yanwu and praised her previous performance. She described it as unique and unlike anything else. However, there was a hidden meaning beneath her words. She remarked that Hua often enjoyed things that were new and unusual, though his interest rarely lasted long. Quietly, she expressed hope that Yanwu would be able to hold his attention for as long as possible. The implication was impossible to miss. Soon afterward, Dehi questioned their choice of restaurant, subtly suggesting that such a place was beneath women of their standing. Behind her, several women let out amused laughs. Yanwu noticed the reaction immediately. Dehi offered to escort them somewhere more elegant and refined instead. Politely, Yanwu declined. She explained that she wanted to try the place Sarim had recommended. When Dehi shifted her attention towards Sarim and made a dismissive remark, Yanwu intervened. Without raising her voice, she made one thing perfectly clear. Sarim was important to her. Those simple words changed the atmosphere instantly. Later, after they had finished eating, Yanwu sincerely expressed how much she enjoyed the meal. Sarim remained silent for a moment. Then she thanked Yanwu. She explained that she was grateful for how Yanwu had handled the earlier situation. Yanwu reassured her that she had not done it out of obligation. She had spoken honestly. The answer clearly affected Sarim. Without warning, she stepped forward and hugged Yanwu tightly. The gesture was unexpected but heartfelt. In a quiet yet unwavering voice, she pledged her loyalty. For a brief moment, the atmosphere felt warm and peaceful. Unfortunately, it did not last. A group of men approached. Their arrival immediately shattered the calm. Their comments were intrusive, disrespectful, and inappropriate. Sensing trouble, Sarim attempted to leave with Yanwu before the situation could escalate. However, one of the men suddenly reached out and grabbed her arm. Sarim cried out in pain as his grip tightened around her wrist. Yanwu reacted instantly. Raising her voice, she demanded that the man release Sarim immediately. The shock and anger in her expression were impossible to miss. The situation escalated rapidly. Then, without warning, a figure wearing a silver mask appeared. Everything stopped. One of the men immediately stepped forward, his face twisted with irritation and anger. In a loud, aggressive voice, he demanded to know who the masked stranger was. Another man did not even bother asking questions. Instead, he hurled an insult and charged forward, raising his fist. He demanded to know what the masked man thought he was doing by interfering. His attack failed completely. Not only did he miss, but he also lost his balance and crashed face first onto the ground in an embarrassing display. The atmosphere changed instantly. Unwilling to back down, the rest of the men rushed forward together. What followed was brief but decisive. The masked man moved with calm precision. Every movement was controlled, efficient, and effortless. One by one, the men were knocked down. Within moments, the fight was over. The troublemakers lay scattered across the ground, completely defeated. The masked man looked down at them calmly before questioning their behavior. How could they roam around in groups simply to harass women? Did they feel no shame for what they had done? His words left no room for argument. Afterward, he turned toward Yan Wu and Serim. To Yan Wu's surprise, Serim immediately recognized him. Utah. Hearing the name, Yan Wu quickly thanked him for stepping in when he did. Serim also lowered her head respectfully and remarked that it had been a long time since they last met. Confused, Yan Wu glanced between them. She had not expected Serim to know him. Utah casually responded by teasing Serim, saying that she was still just as shameless as her master. Rather than arguing, Serim simply accepted the remark as though she had heard it many times before. Watching the exchange left Yan Wu feeling slightly uncomfortable. She was not entirely sure how to interpret their relationship. Utah's attention shifted toward her. His tone became noticeably less teasing as he asked whether she had been hurt. Yan Wu assured him that she was fine and thanked him once again. Without another word, Utah suddenly leaped onto a nearby rooftop. The movement was so effortless that it stunned everyone watching. A moment later, he disappeared from sight. Whispers immediately spread among the surrounding crowd. People were confused by what they had just witnessed. Serim turned toward Yan Wu and asked whether she was all right, acknowledging how shocking the situation must have been. Curious, Yan Wu asked who Utah really was. Serim explained that he was Hua's twin brother. The revelation completely surprised her. Serim continued, explaining that it was understandable she did not know. Utah rarely appeared in public and was almost always seen wearing a mask. She also revealed that the two brothers did not share a particularly good relationship. For a moment, Yan Wu wondered whether she should inform Hua about the encounter. Serim immediately assured her that she would handle it herself and that there was no need to worry. Elsewhere, Dehi sat among members of her group. Several of them quietly discussed Hua, suggesting that he must be struggling and expressing disappointment that they could not witness it themselves. Dehi calmly advised them not to be too harsh. According to her, Yan Wu likely did not know any better. Situations like this, she said, often became opportunities for people to learn. However, the moment she turned around, she froze. Utah was standing directly in front of her. Startled, she demanded to know why he was there. Before she could react further, he struck her. The action was so sudden that nobody had time to respond. His warning was clear. She was never to lay a hand on that woman again. Shocked and furious, Dehi demanded an explanation. Who was he talking about? Why was she being treated this way? Utah calmly pointed out several small but precise details. The message was unmistakable. He knew exactly what she had done, and there would not be a second warning. Even so, as he left, a slow smile spread across Dehi's face. Rather than feeling afraid, her thoughts drifted toward darker possibilities. Back at the palace, Yan Wu lay on her bed. For reasons she could not fully explain, she felt exhausted. After resting for a while, she eventually sat up. Then she began cleaning. For Yan Wu, cleaning was more than a chore. It brought order to her surroundings and helped organize her thoughts. She moved quietly through the room, focusing on one task at a time. Eventually, Serim entered. The moment she saw Yan Wu scrubbing away with such determination, she looked surprised. Questioning what she was doing, Serim attempted to take the broom away. Yan Wu quickly insisted that she enjoyed cleaning and explained that it had become a habit. Although still concerned, Serim eventually took the broom anyway. Yan Wu reassured her once more that there was nothing to worry about. Satisfied for the moment, Serim announced that she would return later and left the room. Once alone again, Yan Wu continued cleaning. While tidying one of the shelves, she noticed a small box stored high above. Curious, she carefully brought it down. Opening it slowly, she discovered several valuable items inside. Among them was a ribbon it looked like something that belonged to a woman. Holding it for a moment, she paused. Then she quietly told herself that it had nothing to do with her, and carefully placed it back inside the box. Just as she closed the lid, a voice spoke behind her. Startled, she turned around. Hua stood there with his arms crossed, silently observing her. Panic immediately flashed through her mind. Had he seen everything? Quickly she explained that she had only been cleaning. Hua raised an eyebrow and suggested that if she needed help, she could have simply asked someone else. Shaking her head, Yan Wu insisted that she could manage on her own. Besides, she genuinely enjoyed cleaning. Accepting her explanation, Hua nodded. However, he asked her to make sure everything was returned to its proper place afterward. Surprised, she listened as he explained that the room had originally belonged to him, although he found it somewhat embarrassing to admit. Disorder made him uncomfortable. He could not truly relax unless everything was where it belonged. Yan Wu agreed, yet her thoughts immediately drifted back to the ribbon. She remembered him once mentioning that this was the first time he had brought a woman into that space. Before she could dwell on it further, her thoughts shifted toward Utah and the encounter from earlier. Mentioning it, she explained what had happened. Hua revealed that he had actually come to discuss the same matter. Yan Wu commented that Utah felt strangely familiar, though she had only seen him wearing a mask. Hua listened carefully. She clarified that she had never seen his face, only sensed a similar aura. An awkward silence followed. Immediately she wondered whether she should have said anything at all. Deciding to escape the uncomfortable moment, she stood and announced that she would finish cleaning before returning shortly. As she carried a basin of water toward the door, Hua asked whether she was heading outside. Pausing, she calmly asked whether it mattered. Rather than answering directly, Hua stepped closer and adjusted her gown. He reminded her that many eyes were watching outside. Quietly, she thanked him. Hua then observed that it was fortunate she had not been injured. He even remarked that, given enough time, Utah might prove useful. The comment immediately made Yan Wu decide that she would never mention Utah again. Quickly announcing that she was leaving, she headed toward the door. Hua watched her go. Then he suddenly called out, telling someone to stop eavesdropping. A visibly embarrassed Sarum emerged from hiding. Hua asked whether she agreed with Yan Wu's observation that Utah and he seemed similar. Sarum calmly replied that such an observation was natural considering they were twins. Hua chuckled. He wondered aloud how Utah would react if he heard that, especially since he disliked resembling Hua and constantly hid behind a mask. Remaining composed, Sarum assured him that Utah would probably understand. Eventually, Hua nodded. For everyone's sake, it was probably best not to bring Utah up again. Later that evening, Hua and Yan Wu sat together sharing dinner. Hua mentioned that Sarum had personally prepared the meal and insisted that Yan Wu try it. Looking across the table, he remembered that she enjoyed spicy and oily foods and asked whether she still had room to eat more. Yan Wu nodded. Taking a bite, she immediately declared that it was her favorite. Hua smiled slightly and remarked that he would remember that. He then encouraged her to relax and enjoy the evening. As they ate, Yan Wu found herself remembering the days when she used to drink alone after composing music. It had been a very long time since she had enjoyed a moment as peaceful as this. Without realizing it, she softly hummed a familiar melody. Hua noticed immediately. Curious, he asked whether it was a song she liked. Smiling, she admitted that it was. She quickly apologized for humming aloud. Hua dismissed the apology. According to him, a drink without elegance felt incomplete. Then he picked up a daegeum and began playing a song. It was his way of thanking her for sharing the untitled piece with him. Yan Wu listened quietly as the soft notes filled the room. The music flowed beautifully. She found herself thinking that Hua was talented not only with the daegeum, but with many instruments. For the first time, she truly understood why so many people admired him. As she listened, another thought surfaced. Hua enjoyed trying new things, but perhaps he also became bored quickly. Lost in thought, she accidentally spoke the concern aloud. The moment the words left her mouth, Hua stopped playing. Looking directly at her, he asked how she could possibly say something like that. Horrified, Yan Wu immediately covered her mouth. She had not meant to say it aloud. Quickly, she reassured him that she had not intended any offense. Standing up, she began listing all of his positive qualities instead. She praised his kindness, his skill with instruments, his attentiveness, and the way he cared for her family. As she spoke, Hua watched her carefully. Meanwhile, Yan Wu grew increasingly aware of her own words. A mixture of surprise, gratitude, and nervousness swirled inside her. She realized just how much she appreciated him. The room gradually fell silent. Then Hua suddenly moved closer. His face drew nearer to hers. Yan Wu looked up in surprise. For a brief moment, the atmosphere felt intimate. Then Hua reached toward her lips. Her heart nearly stopped. A second later, he held up a tiny crumb. Apparently, it had been stuck there the entire time. Frowning, Yan Wu thought he could have simply told her. Still, she quietly thanked him. A small smirk appeared on Hua's face. Glancing outside, he remarked that it had grown late and suggested they call it a night. Yan Wu agreed. As she prepared to leave, Hua sighed dramatically and commented that it was a shame for the evening to end so soon. She laughed softly. According to him, time always seemed to pass far too quickly whenever they were together. Smiling, Yan Wu wished him good night before returning to her room. Lying on her bed, she found herself unable to sleep. Her thoughts refused to settle. The memory of how close Hua had been lingered in her mind. More than anything, she wanted to understand what these growing feelings meant. The next morning, Hojo rode toward Hua's residence in his chariot. Along the way, he recalled a recent conversation with Lord Zhang Gong. His birthday celebration was approaching, and Hua had been invited to attend. Muttering to himself, Hojo questioned why he had to see Hua so early in the day. By the time he reached the palace gates, his mood had only worsened. The guards immediately bowed. When they explained that Hua was not currently present, Hojo interrupted them before they could finish. Furious, he demanded to know why they expected him to wait without any indication of when Hua would return. Terrified, the guards hurriedly apologized. They explained that they had only intended to inform him of the situation. Hojo waved off the explanation. Then he asked whether anyone else remained inside the residence. Moments later, he gave a direct order, "Take him to Yan Wu." His determination to see her was unmistakable. Inside the residence, Yan Wu